To blow any person's mind? The answer, you're not going to want to miss it. Coming up next. You like cool stuff? Me too. What about free cool stuff? What about free cool stuff that absolutely blow anyone's mind?
Wow.
Well, you're going to want to stay tuned to the end of the video to find out about our awesome giveaway where you can win something absolutely mind-blowing for absolutely free.
Wow.
So for details, stay tuned to the end of the video and also check out the links in the description below. Of course, if you love what you saw today, make sure you drop us a like, support the channel. If you didn't, drop us a dislike. Let us know why in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe because you're not going to want to miss what we've got coming up next. This is Sebastian at TDA, and we have a very special guest today. We're going to be talking about something really exciting. You know, when we think about AR, VR, and mixed reality in general, we think of something very complicated and far and expensive. And I have a gentleman today who's going to explain to us how that's simply not true and that there is a better way. Today, I have with us the CEO and founder of Zappar, Caspar.
Thykier. It's close. It's Thykier. You're right.
There you go.
You know what? It's a hard surname. I'll give you a 7 out of 10.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'll work with it. At least I have a passing grade. Well, thank you so much. So let's jump into a quick TLDR, too long didn't read, about why they should care about mixed reality before we get into what it is that you do and what's the difference between AR, VR, and MR.
Yeah, I mean, look, we couldn't have made it more complicated, could we? I mean, unfortunately, when it was a university project, whoever went, I know, we'll call it augmented reality, as if anyone would ever understand what those two words mean put together. Exactly. It does make it complicated. So, I mean, augmented reality, as I think about it, is just magic on your phone. It's a way that we can use the camera in order to then put other inputs. So it might be animation, or it might be sort of audio, or it might be text, whatever that might be, to appear over the camera image in order to give you more information and more context to the thing that you're looking at. So I think augmented reality is really just a way to use the camera, discover new things, see magic on your phone.
Well put.
MR was interesting, right? Because mixed reality was something that really came out as an expression from Microsoft, as a new way to think about how you could experience AR, but at room scale, you know, and make it more immersive. So I think there's a lot of debate as to whether mixed reality is a separate thing to AR, or is it a subset of AR, or has it just confused everyone?
Well, we're going to simplify everything today, and I think that one of the big things here to remember is, like, if we talk about like things that are maybe more familiar, just for those who are new to this concept, virtual reality. What we have back here, we have some VR headsets, and that's what we know as maybe goggles. And this is where you leave the entire world, right? So sometimes you want that. That's great, like when you need to enter a whole new world. But also a lot of people really enjoy, and there's a good use for it, is what a lot of people know as like maybe the Instagram face mask or Pokemon Go, or, you know, basically seeing things in the space shared with real world. So you see your friends around you, you see your whole room. It's not virtual, but yet there is magic inserted. Think walking through Disney and seeing a, you know, floating butterfly. That couldn't be possible without the magic of what we're talking about today. And what's even better is it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. And that's, I think what we're talking about today is Caspar has created this clever product that you're going to want to hear today. They have a wonderful Kickstarter. They've been funded successfully multiple times. They have a successful company, and I'm super excited to talk with them. 3 years in the making. So if you want to know how excited I am, here it is. So fantastic. So, all right. So we talked about why we should care. I think that let's jump into that a little bit more. Why should the average person, maybe non-developer, and then maybe past that, what is the sort of opportunity for people who are maybe developer or enterprise people? But first, the average person, why should they care about mixed reality?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is that, you know, people are clearly getting on with their lives. So in order for someone to care about something, they've got to spend time with it and find that they are getting some form of value back from it. Right. So for mixed reality, it is really that sense of being able to look at your environment through a lens and be able to, through the power of computer vision and through augmented reality, bring objects to life in front of you that you can interact with and that you can then discover new things around. And so that might be for gaming, it might be for education, it might be for learning and training and development. I mean, there are lots of things that mixed reality can bring to life in your space, depending on who you are and what you want to do. And so I think it's a new way of thinking about, let's say, just a clear table in front of you. You know, that clear table with mixed reality can have anything appear in that space. It could be machinery, it could be a dragon, it could be, you know, a tabletop game, it could be a pyramid, it could be whatever you want it to be that conforms to, you know, the type of I guess story you want to tell. And I guess people speak about this notion of spatial storytelling in mixed reality. And I think that's the exciting thing, is that it's there in front of you in the real world, as you see in the sort of Star Wars movies and Harry Potter. But this is now something that you can do with your mobile device affordably and experience it in your home.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I think that one of the things that I think is misinterpreted often by hearing something like virtual reality or mixed reality or seeing these headsets is that it is a video game machine, and that is not for people who are not into gaming. And I think that what's exciting, in fact, if you're just new to this concept, is that this is excuse me for these words, the 3D computer, right? And so it means it can do everything that the computer can do, right? Of course, people have to build it, which is why we're talking to you today, because you guys are the future of this field. But really, you know, this device allows us to, for example, IKEA chair, right? If I wanted to buy that chair, I could see it right here in the room. We are 3D beings. We live in a spatial world, which what that means is basically we walk around objects. We see it from multiple sides. And the hidden opportunity here is like, you know, and of course, Caspar's worked on some of this kind of stuff for major brands and clients, but it's adding a secret hidden layer of magic to anything in the physical world as possible. So you're talking about, as he was saying, a tabletop game. Now we used to play Monopoly on the table, right? And now all of a sudden, this could all be 3D in our room, walking around on our table. Mr. Monopoly can, you know, jump off the table and whatnot. So there's really the opportunity, even packaging, right? So you guys have worked with, I'm just going to name a few hot names, you know, Warner Brothers, Hasbro, Chiquita Banana. So for anyone who doesn't think that it applies to them, it literally applies to everyone. Fanta, Nespresso, Disney, as we were talking about, Magic, artists, singers like Wyclef and Adam Lambert. We've got movies like Transformers and Green Lantern. So really this thing can help artists, painters, educators, enterprise. Sky's the limit here, because it is essentially the computer. Would you agree?
I think, I mean, I like to think of these in very, very simple terms because I'm quite a simple person, I guess.
Let's do that.
Ultimately, we have this camera on our phones, and we now have this new way of using the camera to deliver information to people. And that could be something that is, surprising and delightful, and brings these amazing properties that you've mentioned in film, music, sport, etc. to life. Or it can be for utility and information on packaging. So that might be about sustainability, or the provenance of a product, or telling more of its brand story. It really doesn't matter. But what's so exciting is that we've opened up this new canvas, this new way of seeing the world. And as you say, everything becomes a digital discovery channel. Now, I don't think that's to say that that's the end of physical goods and play patterns and everything. And in fact, without reality, the augmented and virtual and mixed bit, doesn't really mean a lot. Absolutely. So, I think that interplay between the physical world and then the digital overlay, if you like, right, is what makes it so magical. It's how that transition happens. And, I think a lot of these things don't have to be grand and complicated and expensive, as you say. They can actually be quite small and simple and beautiful, but really resonate with people. And that's, I think, what's so exciting.
Fantastic. So I do want to give people an opportunity to know what it is we're promoting today. They have an awesome Kickstarter, and I'm going to be showing you. We have version 2 here today, and the upcoming Kickstarter they've improved it even better. So we're going to be talking about this solution, but also V2 today. If you can believe this, most augmented reality or mixed reality headsets range from about $3,500, depending on what enterprise package you have, $4,000. You can get down to $3,000. There are some solutions at $1,200, but for a lot of people, that's sort of out of reach. And we want you to be able to do amazing things. So these brilliant guys have leveraged existing technology at scale, meaning your phone, cardboard, and now in the upcoming version, beautiful plastic, a nice solution with lenses embedded. And we're going to get into all that. But here's the headline: $40. $40 gets you in the door, controllers, a platform. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And so I think everybody at home has $40. So you're going to want to listen up to more of what we got talking about today. How can we find that Kickstarter, and how many days are left? I see that we're at November 6th, 9 a.m. So if you haven't grabbed it, go and grab it right now. Caspar, tell us a little bit about this Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Zapbox has been quite a journey for us as a business, and it's something we've been working on for the past 5 years. And you mentioned sort of obviously the version 2 there, obviously a version 1 before that. And the initial thought really was exactly as you said. There's some amazing mixed reality sort of kits that are out there. The awesome work that Microsoft are doing with HoloLens, Magic Leap and everything that was promised there. And these were incredible things that we wanted more people to get their hands on, because we talk a lot about sort of democratization of technology. And so internally we had this phrase of, well, let's try and make Magic Leap magic cheap. Or how do we bring affordable mixed reality to more people? And how do we do that, as you say, on existing hardware from existing phones, in a way that people could get their hands on, and also then different developers and designers could easily produce content for. So that started life with our sort of cardware versions with V1 and V2. And what we've just launched on Kickstarter, I think another 17 or 18 days to go, is the all-new Zapbox, which, and I've got one of the 3D printed versions here that you can see.
Wow.
So it's a whole different new kind of form factor. So gone is the cardboard, and in comes this very sort of slim headset, and with these see-through arms in which you can then place your device. And the whole thought here is, by a sort of design principle that governed everything, was just super simple solutions. How do we try and make a headset that is comfortable and easy to take on and off? And how can we actually allow people full peripheral vision? because actually it's really nice to feel part of the space that you're in, and not have that closed off and slightly scary feeling of, well, where am I and where can I move, and all those other things. And then we needed something that obviously could securely mount different types of phone, and have new types of controllers. So the old controller looked like this. The new controller is much slimmer.
Look at that.
They both have completely analog inputs. So you can see that one there. That sort of goes up and down. So that gives a different input. And then we also went for a new code design, which I'll talk about as well. So we went through from a point code to what we're calling a D3 ... dash code.
I see.
So it's completely reimagined, basically, but still at this $40 price point.
Wow.
And that was so important, because it is really about how can we get this into the hands of more people, and how can we get them to experience mixed reality. As we know, we are eventually on a journey from these things existing on devices and headsets, but at some point glasses, but that's probably quite a ways off. So how do we get people to experiment with these things? So yeah, it's an exciting journey. I think we've just passed 50% of our sort of the level we're trying to get to on Kickstarter. We've got about another 18 days to go. So yeah, absolutely. If anyone's interested, please do get over to the Kickstarter.
Fantastic. And we're actually going to be giving away one of these, so you definitely want to stay tuned till the end so you can find out how you can win one. We're going to be probably giving away a few, and to actually put this in your hands, get started. I'd love to give it to somebody who wouldn't otherwise consider getting into this field, and really bridge that gap here. So we're going to be talking about how we can give away one of these. And then, of course, we're going to have a first look at the upcoming Kickstarter. Once it comes out, I have a promise from Caspar. So, and
definitely, we definitely want to get one to you.
That's awesome. So yeah, so guys, stay tuned. But if you don't end up winning the prizes here today, listen, $40, I can promise you it'd be some of the best money you spent. You can go from, that's what I call an investment, when you can drop $40 and then enter a new industry and perhaps walk away making a bunch of money. So, and if not, just having fun with your friends, trying out some mind-blowing content for $40. And so, actually, let's talk about this quickly. I also love that what you said. How can we make magic cheap? That's great. And so, yeah, so I wanted to maybe talk about, to dispel some of the maybe initial confusion, and then also kind of explain how we got here by speaking a little bit about your company, and then also like the inception of Zapbox. But first, what I wanted to sort of talk, my first question really is that people's initial reaction to hearing the word cardboard is reminiscent of Google Cardboard. And so because VR is very different from MR, some people's first experience was on a Google Cardboard for virtual reality. I have a great deal of respect for the scalability. But, fundamentally, mixed reality is a completely different type of experience. That's why I brought Caspar on the show today, because this is not as simple as just a Google Cardboard, although I've read that it does support VR experiences. But before we get caught up in that, this is really a first of its kind, and especially at this price point. So I'd like to explain the differences between what this is, how is this different from Google Cardboard, and we'll start there, and then we'll jump into why, about the other headsets and the differences between that.
Oh, and I should definitely say that we have the utmost respect for what Google did with Google Cardboard, because what a brilliantly disruptive move to go, again, at the time when all the amazing VR headsets were coming out, to go, hang on, we can just put this in a box with a couple of lenses and you get quite a fun experience. Love that. And we really took that mindset on with the first Zapbox kits that we did, which was actually, let's take some of that Google Cardboard shape and just cut out the front, right, so we can see the other camera, and then be looking out and then use cardboard to make the controllers and everything. And I think that was a really nice way to just make people go, this isn't so distant. We can bring this close to us. So I think as you described, the thing about VR is that is about you entering another world. And fundamentally, the thing about mixed reality is bringing that other world into your world. And so that requires a different, under the hood way of thinking about how we can understand that surface that we're looking at and how we place content on it faithfully.
Right.
And I'm not technical, so I won't get into the technicality of it, but it's lucky that we have some very clever people who are good at this stuff. And the challenge there is, how do you get 3D objects to sit stereoscopically, because, we see with two eyes, faithfully on a surface. And actually, when you want to have controllers that go with that experience, how do you make sure that you've got a field of view big enough so that you can have your hand comfortably in that camera view and be interacting with those controllers, especially if we're just doing it with just an analog input, so no consumer electronics in here at all. So that just requires a lot of different things that you've got to think about. Okay, so we want a wider angle lens that we need to put on there. We've got to understand the surface that we're pointing at. We've got to make sure that that thing faithfully is in the right place, so you don't kind of question it, and everything works, so you're not tricking the brain and making it feel uncomfortable. So there's quite a lot of things to kind of to think about there. And then how do we make a content authoring environment that means that it's not going to cost the earth to make stuff and people can publish it really quickly? So there's a bunch of stuff that I guess we've spent 10 years making sure that we can do in order to make this work at this end of the market. And what we hope is that people are, positively surprised by that experience. We're never going to go, this is better than Microsoft HoloLens, or, because those are incredible bits of equipment that, understandably cost a lot of money because it took an awful work to get there. So it's not trying to go one is better or worse, but I think as a way of going, do you know what, you can get a hell of a long way to have a really interesting mixed reality experience with something like Zapbox. So what have you got to lose, if you like? And the last thing I'd say that is different is that what we're doing what's called as video see-through. And in doing video see-through with mixed reality experiences, it means we can make things look solid. If you're using sort of optical see-through, that's great, and it's really good for faster motion in those headsets. There's lots of good reason for using those, but it does mean that everything is going to be slightly ghostly. And if you've got very strong light, it's going to look, then you're not going to have the same level kind of opacity as video see-through. So it's not one of those ones that one's better than the other, but they are for different types of experience. And the things that we favor are ones that are tabletop and controlled, that you can look around and interact with and share and be collaborative, and but kind of make it feel as if it's there.
Absolutely. And I think that was very well put. And so I just want to clarify some of those things just for those new out there. And so he talked about a few things here. So we talked about being able to put it on a tabletop and being tracked accurately. So if you're new to what that even means, that's totally cool. Basically, if you look at Pokemon Go or any type of augmented reality that you may be familiar with, when it's not done very well, it kind of shakes on the table surface, or maybe it's floating above it, and that Pikachu should be running on the table, but for some reason he's floating 1 inch above it. And basically, computers have to know, okay, how can I place this 3D object on the table that makes it feel real? And because of that, there's a lot of scientific challenges, and everyone takes a different approach to how to do that. And so I think that I really love what he said, which is basically, it's not a better solution. It has its own use case. And what's great about this is not only about the technology itself, but the builders. There is enough space for everyone to enter this ecosystem and really learn and gain from this space. It's a beautiful magic space, and so there is a use case for a $3,500 headset. The thing is, that's not for everyone, and that's what we're about here. We're a little bit more about everyone, but we want to inspire people of all walks. And so the other thing that you mentioned was field of view. So we're going to try to break down these nasty little terms. Field of view simply means that you can see, as you would in reality, you have this much view. I can see the whole room. And sometimes when you wear headsets, it sort of blocks that field of view, and the thing that you're able to see has a limit. For example, as they say that Magic Leap was similar to seeing a hologram, but looking through somebody's mail slot. And so, you know, there's a cropping. And so what's interesting about Zappar and and Caspar's approach is that they're using what's called pass-through AR, which means that they're, instead of trying to make clear lenses, which is what another thing that contributes to the price of these things is, scientifically, we have not really figured out how to scale clear lenses that can shoot light into it, but then is still visible during the day, and then is powered correctly and has the computer built in, and blah, 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 blah. And the reason why we say all this is because to say, when you see people with gigantic, goofy headsets, it's not because we don't know that they should look cool. It's more so that there's technical limitations. And really, MR is on the forefront of something that hasn't really been achieved to the mass yet. And this is I would say, a solid approach, a scalable approach, intelligent use of replacing expensive hardware with just smart tricks. And I want to break down some of those in a minute, but I also want to give the mic back over to my man Caspar for a little bit, because I've been talking a lot. So Caspar, give me some feedback here.
You're absolutely right to do that, Sebastian, because you know, we get so used to these terms that we forget that they are alien to most. And you're right. So back to that sort of super simple solutions piece. You know, two of the things that we've done with the new Zapbox is, so we always had, you'll see on the front here, there's this sort of little lens adapter, and that's the thing that, again, quite easy for us to find that lens, but we put a new fixture on it so it can hold over the camera. Now, obviously, some of the new devices like the iPhone 12 and 11, they do come with a wide-angle lens that we can take advantage of. But there's still hundreds of millions of devices on, you know, in people's hands that don't. So why don't we just put that addition on to allow that bigger field of view, as you say? There's also another thing that we've done, that on those lenses that, you know, were in Google Cardboard, for the new Zapbox, we've just cut the bottom off them. And that has a really interesting and simple but brilliant sort of effect, which is, it means that when you're looking through this headset, and you're kind of looking through the phones mounted in it from where the headsets are, you're not aware of the edge of the phone. So everything in your field of vision that has mixed reality in it, that's right, you know, looks real. But then you've also got your peripheral vision. So absolutely. So you're basically seeing your peripheral vision is all clear. And then you've got this amazing thing happening, you know, in the field of vision that we're able to use for the mixed reality experience. And again, that sounds kind of obvious, and it's one of those things that until you try it, it's quite hard to explain.
Exactly.
But again, it's that point that you made about something floating or being straight on the table. We're so used to things being correct in the world, and it's amazing how much that we take in. That when something as simple as that is off, we're very conscious of it. So trying to kind of make things feel solid, be in the right place, you know, take away edges. They're all tiny little things, but all together just make that experience more enjoyable and more kind of immersive and feel more magical.
Absolutely. I have a good example for you. You know, expectations, right? So we would, again, in science or in technology, we just expect things to work the way that they work because we've had brilliant minds that make it that great, right? But you know, it's sort of like the submarine. You know, we expect a submarine to make the gong, gong. It doesn't. But they have to put it in movies because that's the expectation, right? Here's another expectation. Sorry for the dad joke here. In the United States, we expect the eggs to be white. So we pass through a process of bleaching to meet the expectation of the people, and that's why you don't see brown spotted eggs. So all that to say that when we think about something so advanced like mixed reality that feels far away. When we listen to companies like Apple or some of these larger companies, they're saying this is too far away. And what I love is that companies like Zappar are putting it into people's hands right now, right? And so you can help build this thing. You at home can help build this thing to make it feel the way it should. So, and one other thing I wanted to note here, that maybe for the people out there who've tried virtual reality but not so familiar with mixed reality or augmented reality, there is a difference. It's seeing your reality, seeing it, and then having overlays or magic inserted. And what's really great about pass-through AR, which is what Caspar's working on, is the fact that we naturally know how we want to see the world around us, because we don't want to crash into the. We always see that on YouTube and TikTok, people crashing into a wall with a VR headset. But with this, you actually see around you. And some people who have experienced some motion sickness or those kinds of things, it's just much more natural for our physiological body to experience the world in a 3D space that we know what our balance is. I can see the floor, right? And we don't need to recreate a fake world in order for it to feel natural. It is natural, and what's unnatural is this magic inserted, which you will decide at home what that magic is. So, yeah.
I tell you, one of the things that we weren't expecting but has worked out incredibly well to that point is how good the headset is at VR experiences. Now, if you are making some horror movie or horror VR experience where you really want to enclose people and you're trying to use all the senses and you want them to be closed off, totally get that. But what's been surprising is for some of those ones that are, VR streamed movies or other sort of elements, how nice it is to see that in Zapbox. And I think that's partly because you are aware of your surroundings. And we know, I guess, just the way we use our sight, although we have this incredible vision, when we tend to be focused on the thing in front of us. We blur all that off naturally. And it's the same with watching VR in the Zapbox headset. Your attention is in front of you. You're slightly aware of this, which is nice, and you're right, it helps you with balance and everything else. But it's like being in the cinema. You're looking at the screen. There's lots of, actually, if you thought about it, there's actually quite a lot going on with people munching popcorn and moving around and doing whatever they do. But you're engrossed in the thing in front of you, and that's very true of using Zapbox for VR, which was a unintended consequence. It was not something that we really set out to achieve, but it's lovely to see how well it works.
Absolutely. And it's also just incredibly exciting because, let's get down to this term here, AR, VR, MR, right? XR. Oh my God. You poor people at home. I'm sorry that you have to deal with all these complicated words. So what's fantastic is that I see a world and have seen a world in which we get rid of these terms and we just call this like the computer or something, and or technology, or I don't know exactly what we'll end up calling it. But what Zappar is doing, not trying, is making these separate categories all in one single device, which is what a lot of futurists and a lot of great thinkers have said. These things will merge into a single device, and we won't really know we won't have to explain the difference between which one do you want, VR, AR. It's more like shut off world, turn on world, or turn off everything, and then, or just some magic, a little bit of magic, a lot of magic, right? So that is what's really cool. It means as a developer, you can kind of work on both. It makes it like, the ultimate headset. And, also I want to talk to you about the simplicity of getting started. So if you are maybe new to development, how easy is it to get started? And, maybe we'll talk a little bit about Zapworks and what that means. And also, if you are someone who is not a developer or just works at a business, or you're an educator and you're thinking, oh man, this would be perfect, right? Then, but I don't know how to build. then they've got you covered too, because their team at Zappar can help build world-class experiences, what they call zaps. And those zaps are basically bite-size entertainment experiences that range from about 30 seconds to 5 minutes. But as Caspar told me earlier, sometimes these experiences are like, wow, so cool for half an hour, and we don't know. So it's all about what you'll build out there. So give me some thoughts here.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, again, back to our, I guess, central principle of democratization. There's two things that we have thought about as a business there. One was, and you got to remember, we started back in 2010, 11, and at that time, there weren't really that many platforms that understood how to describe AR content for a mobile device. None that at least worked to our satisfaction. So we did end up building one ourselves, which, as you say, is called Zapworks. And the thought behind Zapworks was to create a content authoring and publishing environment that made it super simple for people of different ranges of experience to build an AR experience and be able to instantly see it in front of them by pressing preview, and instantly publish it into the free Zappar app, or they could put it into their own app. And so there are different ways that you could do that. It could be for people like me who frankly have no coding experience, and so I just sort of describe our designer tool as like PowerPoint Plus, if you like. I think that now it's Canva would probably be the more up to date way of describing it. Drag in different media, so that might be photos and videos and other things, and create your experience. Obviously, there are also very gifted developers and designers who do have some coding experience, and so they could use our Zapworks Studio tool, and that is based on using JavaScript, and so you do need a bit of coding language. But what we have also realized and released earlier this year was a wrapper around Zapworks that we call Universal AR, and that really is going, do you know what? It's great that Zapworks Studio exists as a tool, but there are other coders who have spent a lot of time, working in 3JS or Unity or like using A-Frame. These are other tools that, I guess developers use in their different roles. So why not allow them to do that, but take advantage of our underlying sort of algorithms for face tracking and world tracking, that sort of seeing a table type thing, or being able to see an image tracking. So all these different things, and allow people to then be able to, again, have that simplicity of be able to making that content once and publish them wherever they want. Now with Zapbox, with versions 1 and versions 2, you could make stuff using the Zapworks platform. You had to have some coding experience, so you couldn't sort of publish the design away. But the thing we're really excited about and announcing with all new Zapbox is a plugin for Unity. So there'll be a Zapbox Sdk for Unity developers, which is great because as you all know, the Unity has one of the biggest communities, or the biggest, I think, of people making content across XR, all these different Rs, and so opening that up for that community is just super exciting for us because it just means, again, for all the different potential use cases that anyone might be able to think of can be made and supported.
Fantastic. Well, so I think I definitely, for the people who are ultra technical, I'm going to do a quick breakdown at the end, but I want to keep the newcomers engaged and involved in the conversation. So I definitely think that let's push this Kickstarter one more time. If you guys are not familiar, they've got this fantastic $40 product. Now here I'm holding the version 2, which was about $30, but now for that extra $10, you get a fantastic plastic setup. It really has improved I assume the tracking as well. But really, you want to check out their Kickstarter, and you want to be an early funder because they've already passed 50%. The last Kickstarter, just so you know, these guys are not new to the Kickstarter space. They were funded 280% over the goal. So so that shows the level of interest. Stay tuned towards the end. We're going to be giving away, we're going to give you details on how we're going to give away these Zap boxes. But more importantly, if you don't get your hands on one through us, you definitely want to go to Kickstarter, search up Zapbox. It's called the all new Zapbox, and for a good reason. And just go ahead, pledge the, whatever amount you feel is great, but you're supporting a fantastic cause because it's democratizing. It's allowing people of all ages and in all backgrounds around the world, really, who wouldn't be able to afford a $3,000 development headset. And now for $40, you can open your mind to the imagination of this new space. So really, really cool thing here that we're talking about. And so the best thing you can do to keep this thing going is to support, get your hands on a few of them. And actually, in the world of social distancing, I'd love to quickly talk about what is social distancing? How can this be a solution for that, or is it even a solution? And what about, normally we probably would have met at a conference. Like I found out about Zapbox at AWE, I believe 2017, and had I not been to that conference, I wouldn't have known. But now that I see this, I know that all these conferences are canceled all around the world, but there's actually something here interesting for you if you're wanting on how you can get together with people in a unique and memorable way. And so let's talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the ambitions for Zapbox, is that ability to have collaborative experiences. So much as, we're divided by a fair stretch of water, we could both be in our Zapbox kits, and we could be looking at our different tabletops, but seeing the same thing and collaborating in whatever that thing, or could be having a game of pool,
Right. Wow.
that thing might be. And that's super exciting, about what that again, it's just how it fires the imagination. And,
that's right.
It's about setting that free, because there are so many gifted creative people out there, and we're just excited about what that community will come up with once we've just created that play space. We're just about building the canvas and those brushes, and then let's let everyone paint.
Well, between Zapworks and Unity, for those who are not familiar with Unity, I'm not going to assume everyone does, but if you are, stick around. I got some nerdy tech specs for you at the end about how this compares to headsets. But for those new to Unity, the reason why things like Unity and Zapbox are really interesting is because for people who are not super coders, developers, engineers, I want you to think about Unity more as what they call a GUI, a graphical user interface. And the reason why I'm saying that, not because to throw weird words at you, but really, if you think about things like Photoshop or PowerPoint, what it means is that for a large portion of building this thing, it's really about using a program with menus. And so when you hear the word, developing for Unity, we often think, oh my God, there's no way I could get involved with that. And so what I want to encourage the people out there is say, check out first Zapworks for something, very simple, streamlined. What's great about Unity is also very aligned with their mission as well as democratizing. It's free to download Unity. Nice. You can develop, I believe the cap is like you're under $1 million or something like that. I may be wrong, but an amazing product that can help you design not only for VR, but mixed reality and AR. And also with that same 2D development, meaning on cell phone games, but we're kind of leaving the 2D if you want to get into the new stuff. So, yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys are democratizing. So if you're new and you just have a little bit of curiosity, give it a try, check it out. Again, support this Kickstarter, and you won't be disappointed. Quick question. So someone who's not a developer, who buys this thing, can they still do something with it? Is there a way to find content, something like that for non-coders?
So there is a free to download Zapbox app that accompanied version 1, version 2, and there certainly will be for all new Zapbox as well. And that already comes with, I think it's about 8 or 10 different experiences that you can try. Everything from playing a mixed reality xylophone through to building a car engine to a tower defense game. There's a bit we did with Two Worlds Aquarium from Cape Town that explores a loggerhead turtle and a shark. And
my wife is South African, so
there's
been to Cape Town, love it.
Yeah, and there's also we certainly have plans for new types of experiences for the launch of all new Zapbox, and we're just sort of looking at the moment. But so there's absolutely, this isn't something that you have to be a developer to enjoy. There are experiences there that anyone can enjoy, and it's really now about seeing how the rest of the community reacts to it to build more experiences for more people.
Absolutely. And so I want to quickly give you guys an idea of how exciting this is because of the price point differences. So to give you an idea, a Microsoft HoloLens, now again, everything, to its credit, everything has a space. So it doesn't mean better than, that's what Caspar said, and I totally agree with him. It doesn't mean better than, but it means that for most people, that price point is going to stop them, right, from getting started. And so, and so I saw this interesting breakdown that was basically saying on the Zapbox 2, which would be this guy, the cardboard one, which is great until April 2021. And April 2021, this thing gets even better with the new Kickstarter that you can support today. Now, the breakdown that I saw was, okay, HoloLens 1, because that's when this one, the original was created. So that was the first comparison, was about $3,000 for HoloLens 1. And for scale, that means 100 of these. 100 of these. So picture a room full of people. They could either try one device and share. Oof, in today's day, I don't know from a hygiene perspective if I want to share one headset across 100 people, or everyone gets one and they get to take it home. How fantastic. So I would say that's number one. Now V2, the new HoloLens is now $3,500. Now, of course, there's eye tracking. There's a bunch of stuff in there that, granted, but that still gets you 87 of the new Zap boxes, and it's better. It's better than this one. So really, if you think about knocking off, 12 or 13 of them, but still getting 87 of those things, think about scaling classrooms, think about events, think about, or remote events really, right? So I definitely want to plug this, and this is a really cool scalable solution. Sends in the mail. Look at this.
Damn, boy.
Sends in the mail. So so we're gonna quickly talk about compatibility. So for now, often the walled gardens. For people who don't know what that means, the walled gardens is when a company keeps the hardware, or meaning the headset, all within a single. You can only use their headset with their platform. So what I do know about Zapbox and Zappar for the most part is that, number one, they support both Android and iOS, meaning iPhone and Android. It can be from iPhone 6 and up, and it can be Galaxy S8 and up, and Pixel 2 and 3, and potential support will support Pixel 4a. Did I get that?
That's right. I mean, we're hoping that on Samsung it's going to be the sort of the Galaxy S line in general at launch, and as you say, the Android devices, and so I guess we're going to start there for launch, and maybe without getting too technical, the one thing on Android that is just harder for us is that we need access to the camera frames. So once we put a wide-angle lens adapter on on that device, we need to try and get 60 frames per second, so 60 FPS, because that's going to allow for smooth sort of movement.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah.
And so, there's work that we need to do to make those work on those devices. But you think how many thousands of Android devices there are out there. Wish that we had a team that could make for every single one of them. So we've sort of gone, do you know what? We need somewhere that we can confidently start and still make sure that is still hundreds of millions of devices that are out on the market. And we're not saying that it definitely won't work with the other ones, but we'd almost go, do you know what? We'll have a thing that you can try on your device from our website just to see if it works. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll let you know as the support for those devices increases.
Very smart.
But what we're sort of finding is that, especially on iPhone, if you're right, if you go back to the sort of 6S, it's like 5 years old now. So it is a lot of those devices, and Android clearly, you look at the Samsung S and Pixel, and that's again just quite a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely, I think that so there's more things that they are doing as well to democratize. And so not only is it available on multiple phones, which, as you mentioned, you can go ahead and test your device on their website, very clever, and see if it's compatible, and supporting both iOS and Android. Now, for developers, you can basically develop one experience and now export to multiple iOS, Android, and other mediums. So you're not really wasting your time developing for one or the other. In fact, you're streamlining your process. The APIs are JavaScript based, which is, very nice for, developers and sort of making it simple. And about tracking. So let's talk a little bit about these headsets. So actually, I've got a pair here behind me. These are the Nreal lights, and basically they have a lot of the things that we would find in these $3,000 headsets. Mainly, in the front, you have what's called depth sensors, and all that means is it's the same thing that's on your phones, and it basically tries to measure how far and where things are tracked. And so those sensors, they're starting to put them on the back of the phones, which is great. And I'd love to find out how there's an opportunity there for Caspar and the Zappar team. But really, the sensors here is really trying to do what we were talking about, where it makes sure that things are tracked on the flat surface, right? Whether it be a wall or on a tabletop or whatnot. But those sensors are expensive. Then you have cameras, multiple cameras built in. He talked about stereoscopic view, which means that, we have a left eye and a right eye. And just like in the movies with the red and blue glasses, you kind of need to merge in the middle, right? That's what we do. So now another thing I want to point out about this headset is that it has what's called a 3DoF controller. Ooh, scary word. It means that 3 degrees of freedom. It means that it's not tracked by the cameras, but basically it in practicality, in real life, it works more of like a floating TV remote rather than something that has space. And that is really hard to achieve, where, if I'm holding a bouquet of flowers, I can move it forward, move it backwards, move it around. And that tracking is what is difficult and expensive to do, but these guys have figured out how to do it at scale. When you think about buying something like a HoloLens, again, to its credit, it has a space, but the computer built into the headset, right? It gets outdated in one cycle, 2 cycles, right? So, and what I mean by that is every year things become, as long as Moore's law remains, every year and a half or so, technology gets cheaper, smaller. And so these guys, instead of having you put money into a headset that is going to eventually get outdated, they're leveraging the cell phone, right? Because everyone's going to buy one anyways. The technology is getting better. And so instead of having multiple cameras on the headset, they're using just the phone. They're getting a wide field of view, which all these headsets generally can't get a wide field of view because of different display technology. So they're using what's called AR pass-through, which means that you're seeing through the camera rather than having a clear lens that displays inside of it. But the advantage is you have a huge space to create within. And it is just it's really interesting to be able to touch a physical button on a piece of plastic, or in this case cardboard, but then see a 3D element move. And so now you say, all right, how do we get around the sensors? Well, they get around the sensors because they use those tracking devices, or sorry, they're similar to a QR code. And basically this tells the computer, using computer vision, right? Instead of buying sensors, you're leveraging artificial intelligence, the computer's ability to see the world and interpret it. And it sees these little QR codes and goes, okay, that's a flat table, right? So it cuts out the needs for the sensors. Then you have no need for cameras. Boom, it's using the phone. No need for a computer built in because it's the phone. People are going to buy new phones every year, right? So why build it in? All in one. There's so many advantages. So I think it's really, really clever on every front of the approach to democratize, to make it cheap, to make it sustainable and recyclable. Wow. You kidding me? Talk about that.
Well, it's quite actually. We haven't announced it yet, but I guess now's as good a time as any. We have
wait. World premiere. This is a TDA world premiere.
Well, we're fortunate enough to have joined up with a brilliant charity called the Eden Projects that supports reforestation around the world, helping the sort of poorest of the poor, actually have their own livelihoods and create these new regenerative forests. And so what we're doing is, for every Zapbox that is purchased and every Zapworks plan, we're going to plant a tree through Eden Projects.
Wow.
It's just because I guess as we're coming into Zapbox and we were thinking about the fact that, we do have a digital footprint that we leave in serving and hosting posts. And I guess we do, as a small business, have a responsibility to think about those actions on behalf of our community as well. So we'll see some stuff around that going out soon. But you're right, thinking about how do we create things that are not single use and have great sustainability and are done in the right way.
How exciting. And I think that's really, you got to have a great deal of respect for this mission, putting it in people's hands, making it easy, and considering the impact on the earth. Actually a big content creator, Mr. Beast, supported, made it go viral. In fact, to sort of save trees and team trees and whatnot. And so really cool for you guys to be considering that as well. So guys, if you are just tuning in now, or you forgot somehow about this product, I want to remind you to go to the Kickstarter, support them. $40. You know that they are considering, scalability, price, sustainability, compatibility, incredibility. So yeah. And so I think for those people out there, to recap, if you're new to getting your feet wet to mixed reality, or have tried VR but want to see what this is all about, this is a great pickup. $40, you can't go wrong. If you're thinking about developing and have been, the price has been a barrier, get started now. If you haven't developed, you're a 2D developer, you're like, hey, I want to do some 3D, this is a good idea. And and then if you can't build, then the good people at Zappar can help you build it itself. So really, there's no excuse to not become an early adopter of this technology, to not surprise and delight not only your friends and family, but also your coworkers, your colleagues. It's memorable. It's unique. When you surprise someone with this literal magic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up with number one, make sure you go out and support this Kickstarter. Search up the new Zapbox, Zapbox, and you will find it. Make sure that the cardboard one is fantastic, but the new one coming April 2021 will be the new and improved version. And so I want to wrap up with this here. So the question for me is, you guys have already had a great deal of success, from the Kickstarters to the company, working with huge brands and kind of bridging the gap here. Now the question is, aside from the Kickstarter, because it's definitely going to get funded like the last one, 280% over goal, but aside from that, what will take Zappar and Zapbox to the next level? What is an additional element that could come in, whether that be technology, supporters, adopters, investors? You tell me.
Oh, it's a great question. It's a great question, and one we ask ourselves a lot. No, I think I always describe the journey we've been on as a marathon rather than a sprint. And the last 10 years of us working on this stuff and trying to democratize it, to be honest, we've only just laid the foundations. And it's wonderful to see that everything in terms of all the things you've talked about, the hardware, the software, people's interest, the kind of conversations that are going on within organizations around how they can use a camera capability and how it can drive new thinking and solutions, especially in this time of lockdown, is all good. So we've got this brilliant sort of momentum and rising tide, but we ultimately still need that community of developers and designers to create the rules, and explore, be excited about what these technologies can unlock. So I think, you can talk about 5G coming along. Isn't that fantastic? More of the cameras, as you say, with more depth sensor ability and LiDAR and all these other great things. Wonderful. But this is all, this is the technology, which is always going to evolve. And I think you're absolutely right to go, you've got to forget the technology, and you've got to actually think about the user experience and the content that people are getting. And we've got to get away from the whole area of AR, VR, MR, XR. This is a new way of thinking about a camera capability, and a new way for people to discover and learn and engage and immerse. So I think the most important thing for us is to continue the journey that we're on, which is, how do we make things more robust, scalable, affordable, and allow a bigger community to embrace what's possible in this space, in order for that to be good for everyone. And we're not alone in that. There are some great companies in our space that are all trying to do that. And so it's just about keep on keeping on.
Right. Well, isn't it always? Brilliant conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with you today. And again, for the people out there who are just tuning in, and make sure that you pick up the Zapbox today and get started. It's an amazing, exciting opportunity for pretty much anyone. And I want to say this, I've lived in Silicon Valley, and I think it's fantastic what's possible to be built there, because of the information and resources and all that. But I also feel that the computer is not exclusive to a group of people. In fact, it's quite universal. We use our cell phones. You may be at home watching this on your cell phone right now. And so everyone has technology, everyone uses technology, but for some reason, technology isn't for everyone. And I would like to refute that and say that if you want the future, this is what this opportunity is the ability to bring literal magic into people's homes and reality. And that reality or alternate reality should not be designed by a certain group of people. It should be designed with everyone in mind, and only you know how to design for your neighborhood, for your city, for your life, for your family, for your community, your culture. And I would encourage those who see other people building their products that are for them. I would love to see more people jumping in, designing for their realities, for their people. And I think that's when we're going to build a more universal 3D computer. And if you're down with that message, then make sure you pick up this Zapbox and keep your eyes to the sky, because this is just the beginning. The next 20 years, 30 years are going to be something that we can't even imagine. So thanks so much, Caspar. You've been great.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Caspar.
I'm honored. I have great respect, and guys, go out here and support a real cause. So my name is Sebastian from TDA. I might as well just rename myself. And we're always bringing you cutting edge tech in a way that you can understand and make it relatable to your life, because technology should be for everyone, and that's what the message is being sent out today. Zappar and project like Zapbox will help make this technology more inclusive and democratized for everyone. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so what did you think? Mission accomplished? Did we blow your mind with the Zapbox? Do you want one for yourself? Well, first off, if you enjoyed what you watched today, make sure that you let us know by dropping us a like. It's a single click. If you didn't like it, drop us a dislike. It's also a single click. And if you want to let us know why, what you did like, what are your thoughts? You think it's a great idea? You don't think so? You think it's advanced? You don't? Whatever's on your mind, let us know in the comments down below. And make sure you subscribe for more awesome content from the future. Now, let's quickly talk about this giveaway, because I made you a promise and I'm all about staying true to my word. You know what I mean? So if you haven't subscribed, make sure that you are, because if not, that is definitely... Okay, Zapbox, we're going to be giving away a bunch of these, but starting off with the first one, all you got to do is let us know in the comments below why you think you should get a Zapbox, or you can nominate someone. Sure, no problem. Make sure that you are subscribed to TDA and you tag 2 people who you think would enjoy this video. And who knows? You might win, they might win, but all the rules are in the description down below. And of course, make sure that you stay tuned for the very next episode, because guess what? We're going to give away even more cool stuff that's going to absolutely blow your mind. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And again, my name is Sebastian from TDA. Until next time, this is the Digital Acid.